Phoenix Comicon, which this year was renamed Phoenix Comic Fest and in future years will be known as Phoenix Fan Fusion, has always had its fair share of drama. So I'm going to talk about the controversies and kind of give you a wrap up of how the show went. Greetings, people of the internet. I'm Scott with Serkworks Art Labs. Welcome, mad creators, to the underground laboratory where we create robots, aliens, zombies, and other imminent threats to humanity. And then we take those things, we package them, we make prints out of them, and we bring them to comic conventions, and we try to hawk that stuff or get it out there to you guys. So I just exhibited at Phoenix Comic Fest, and like I said in the intro, there's always a fair bit of drama that surrounds this convention, and it's unfortunate, but there was more drama this time, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, but more or less I just want to talk about how the show went for me personally. This is, I think, my 5th year doing the show, and there's sort of been a downtrend for me anyway, so I want to talk about how this show went for me, and we'll see if it did any better. We're going to get into that, and we're going to talk about, you know, like I said, there's everything from the name changes and everything, and just a lot of things that went down. Last year, there was an unfortunate incident that happened that, well, I say unfortunate, but fortunately it was contained, and it could have been a lot worse, and I think they did a pretty good job. But because of that, a lot of things changed. We'll get into that in a little bit. But like I said, I just want to talk about the convention and give you a little wrap up. So why don't we go up here to the paralleloscope and kind of check in on the convention and see how it went. Alright, so this is it, Phoenix Fan Fest 2018. This is what my table looks like before I get here. Now, what this is cool. They had like a pallet service, and it actually didn't cost anything. It was a free service, and I just took my stuff up, set it on a pallet, they shrink wrapped it and brought it in for me. And that was really cool, because while they did that, I can go around and get my credentials and all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to talk about all this stuff right now, but first I got to kind of get my booth set up. So, greetings everyone, I'm here at Phoenix Fan Fest getting ready to set up my booth, and yeah, it's been a pretty good show so far, but I will keep you guys updated. A lot of stuff's going on. I'll explain all that, but yeah, so this is the booth. I kind of showed you before on the other video, but yeah, I'm really digging this setup. It's really helped me a lot. Yeah, so super cool, super excited. The show hasn't started yet. I'm here a little earlier. That's been sort of an issue. There's crazy security and everything going on, but all in all, if you work with it, it works pretty well. So yeah, I got to get set up. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start unpacking my booth, kind of getting everything set up. I'll take all my products out and put them together so the booth looks all right. And then I'll kind of show you what it looks like put together. And after that, I'm going to do just a little walk around the convention. But while I'm doing that, I want to talk a little bit about how Phoenix Comic Fest went. And there's a lot to talk about, and just to let you know that this is my experience. Now, a lot of people have different experience with this convention, especially this year, because there's a lot of stuff going on, especially kind of bleeding in from previous years, and I might go into that a little bit. But this is only my experience. I can't really speak to how other people, how their experience with the show went. But so this is from my perspective on kind of what happened to me. But there were a lot of people that had a down year, that weren't doing very well, and were a little disenfranchised with some things. And you know, from my perspective, some of those things may not have even been the fault of the convention. Maybe they were. I don't really know, because I don't really know the ins and outs and the workings of the convention itself. But I'll go into talking about a little bit how my show went. But again, just let you know, this is just my experience. So anyway, so the thing about Phoenix Comicon is there is a lot of drama surrounding. It seems like every year there's something. So the last 3 out of 4 years, there, including this year, and not in a row, but there was like a false alarm that went off, and it caused an evacuation of the building. Now, that didn't happen last year. It happened this year, but it didn't happen last year. But last year, that was the year where an armed gunman came in, mentally disturbed man came in, looking to kind of take out the Green Power Ranger. I don't know if you heard about this story, but yeah, so that, I mean, kind of sent a shockwave through all the conventions, and because of that, there was some major security issues and things like that, and it affected like cosplayers and some of the props and things that they could bring in, and a lot of that stuff. So a lot of that, you know, people weren't necessarily, you know, happy about. There were certain vendors that didn't come back, where I don't know what the situation was, whether they weren't invited or they decided not to, you know, like specifically like the people selling lightsabers and things like that. So there's a lot kind of coming from last year. And that caused, from what I understand, the attendance dropped. I think they said around 30%, and somewhere around that number was also a drop in the number of vendors. So, you know, that's a pretty decent drop. Now, anytime there's a major change with a convention, this kind of stuff can happen. And, you know, whether if a convention moves to a different location, things tend to dip downwards. Now, I don't know. I mean, there's so many other cons now, and it's just such a big thing that it could be maybe that this is evidence of sort of that bubble beginning to burst. I don't know. But I think it probably has more to do with just the changes and everything, and, you know, maybe some people were scared to come in. Maybe it's just you know, whatever the factors were, attendance was down and quite a bit, and so were, you know, the vendors and everything. And again, they implemented, you know, this massive, you know, amount of security, and a lot of people this year were annoyed by all the security. But, you know, I don't know. I mean, to me, I think it went about as smoothly as possible for a first year. From what my understanding is that they've been implementing these things throughout the whole year, trying to get this stuff ready. And when I say, I mean, this was massive security. Every entrance, the streets were all closed off. You couldn't get into certain areas, and they did is about as thorough as you can check. And it's not just, you know, they checked everyone, attendees, guests, vendors, all that stuff. So yeah, so a lot of people were annoyed with that, but to me that's kind of like first world problems. I mean they're trying to keep us safe, you know, so, you know, I couldn't get real upset with that. The first day was a little problematic because I didn't know really what to expect, so it took me a little longer to get in and everything. But after that, I kind of figured out what I needed to do and all that stuff, so it wasn't that much of a problem. And like I said, so this year there was another kind of false alarm. From what I understand, this is like a fire alarm malfunction. I don't think it was anyone pulling an alarm or anything, to my knowledge. But this time it was after hours, after the hall had closed. But there's still, you know, special programming going on after hours. And all that was canceled or moved to another day. And unfortunately, you know, because of that, you know, there were, like, I talked to somebody who had a show or was performing or hosting something where they were going to be paid, and because of that, they lost out on a substantial amount of money. So a lot of those after hours, you know, were affected by that. Fortunately for me, I wasn't, because I wasn't doing any of those after hours things. So, you know, people were annoyed and upset by that, but I don't know how much of that was under their control. But there were also some changes and things they made just to the floor layout. They had moved all the cosplayer stuff upstairs to a different location, and I don't know if that's good or bad, because cosplayers are kind of like it's kind of a love-hate type thing, because I love seeing cosplayers walk around and I love looking at them. It's like great. And there were still some, but not like the really super awesome ones that just blow you away. Oh, I gotta get a picture and all that. So there were a lot less cosplayers. And the thing about cosplayers is a lot of times it kind of crowds the halls, because everyone wants to get a picture, and it gets in front of your booth and people kind of move around. So that's kind of an issue. But cosplayers also are people that come around and check out your stuff, and there was a lot less of that. So I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing. But so all these different changes and everything did cause some people to, you know, a lot of people that I talked to just really didn't have a really good year. But I'll kind of speak from my perspective. I did really well, actually. I had my best year ever at a convention, which was weird considering all these changes and this transition and everything. So one of the really cool things is I was brought in as a guest. So Phoenix Comic Fest contacted me and they said, we want to invite you as a guest. We want to pay for your table. So I had already purchased a table, so we're going to refund your money. And I was like, oh, that's cool, but is there any way that I could keep, you know, the table that I paid for and have another one and have double space? Because I was coming off of 2 tables last year. And at the end of that show, I really wasn't. I didn't do. Every year since then was going down and down for me, and I just was a little disenfranchised. I'm like, I don't even know if I want to do conventions anymore. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to get 1 table this time, and I'm going to give it another shot and just scale it down, and basically just to keep my spot on the floor, because if you relinquish that, sometimes it might be difficult to get another one. That may not have been the case since they were kind of down with attendance this year, but I didn't know that at that point. So anyway, yeah, they said, sure, that's cool, you can do that, and we'll even give you an end cap. So I had this nice end cap, 2 tables, very nice, good enough space to put all my products on and everything. So that was really awesome of them, and it came with a lot of fringe benefits. I got, actually, I got access to a green room, and they had, at lunchtime they had this awesome buffet. They had coffee and everything in the morning, complimentary. So it was really cool. They really treated me well, and I really do appreciate that. And yeah, it was just awesome. But regardless of the fact of whether or not I would have paid for both my tables or half my table like it did, or half my setup like it did, I still would have had the best show I've ever done. So regardless of whatever I paid, the amount I took in was more than I had made from any previous year. And I don't know that a lot of that has to do with the convention itself. I mean, some of it has to, because the people coming by and checking things out, but a lot of it I think boils down to some things that I did differently. And if you watched one of my previous videos, you saw some different things that I did with my booth and everything. But I had some different, tactics and everything that I kind of implemented, and some things that I changed around. And I think those things really worked, and I think they really improved my sales and everything. So a lot of the things you do at shows, the onus is kind of a little bit on you if things aren't working. And for a while I kept doing some of the same things, because I liked it, even though I wasn't sure if they were working or not. But I changed a lot of things around, and like I said, I tried some new things out, and they all seem to work. So I think going forward, building on that, I think I can do even a better show, especially because I assume this is a down year. I think it will sort of trend up next year, hopefully. So yeah, I am, because of my experience, I am looking forward to kind of getting back into maybe doing more cons and things, because I think I'm hitting on some things that work. So I want to talk about some of the things that worked, but also I want to let you know that I did sort of make a substantial investment in some new things, my new setup and everything, and different things that I was doing. So that's going to sort of offset some of the extra profits that I made. But sometimes you have to do that. You have to invest in yourself in order to kind of move forward and build your business. But like I said, a lot of these things that I'm doing are working, and so if everything continues to trend up or even stay the same next year, I'll be pretty much golden, because now I've got all these things into play. I've already made those investments. So anyway, so let's talk about the things that worked. So the main thing that I did, and I got this tip from my friend Jeremy Burley, who we had on the Artcasters after last year's convention. We kind of talked about that if you want to look through my channel on the Artcasters playlist and check and find that episode with Jeremy. But what he was doing was he had a postcard, and he was just basically, free postcard, and they would say, feel free to browse, I've got prints, this and that and everything. And you would be surprised how well that did. But I wanted to kind of do something a little bit different, a little spin on that. So I had some stickers printed up, and basically these were just stickers with kind of a variation of my logo and my URL and everything like that. So they were just promotions for me, but it said, Mad Science Supply Company, and I'd say, free sticker, and you wouldn't believe how many people, I mean, very few people did not take that free sticker. And as soon as they took it, I said, so everything I do is kind of mad science. If you're into taking over the world, I'm your one-stop shop. And I would just go on from there, and depending if there were more people at the table, I would do a variation on that, so it wouldn't sound like I was always giving everyone the same pitch, even though, I mean, if you were there at the same time, even though I did, I'm sure my neighbors could probably get sick of me doing sort of that pitch, but it really did work, and I always got a smile every time I said that. And, you know, I would say, you know, I do robots, aliens, zombies, other imminent threats to humanity, and all that stuff, and I said, if you need to decorate your underground lair, I've got prints and this and that. So I had a whole spiel going, and that really, really worked very well. So that definitely worked. That sticker thing, it just invites people in, and I wasn't, you know, it's not like a carnival barker type thing. I'm not reaching out to people that aren't paying attention. It's usually when people make eye contact or they show a little bit of interest in what I'm doing. And even if they're far away, if they're looking up at my thing, that's when I offer it, and then they come to the table, and then I can show them, and it worked really well. So that's the #1 thing I did that really helped out. The other thing, like I said, I had a corner booth, and I set my 3D print, which is just a real eye kind of grabber, and people saw this thing because it says, try it, it's 3D, and they would come and they'd see the 3D glasses, they pick them up and try it out. And even though that print doesn't sell a lot, because when you put it on the wall, it's 3D and it doesn't make much sense unless you have the glasses, it really gets people at the table. So, and I've had that before, but I've never had it sort of on that end corner where people just see it from a mile away. The other thing is my branding, my signage. It was all, you know, all over the place, from every angle you see, the front of the table, the sides, everything. Mad Science Supply Company, Mad Science Supply Company, Serkworks. But most importantly, Mad Science Supply Company, because people don't know what Serkworks is, but they know what a Mad Science Supply Company is. So that really worked. The other thing was all my work was really presentable, was all in frames, and at first I was worried that people might think that when I was selling them they came into frames, but there wasn't really that confusion. I think I only had one person that asked if they were framed, and I told them no, they're not framed, and it wasn't an issue. So everything looked really nice. The other thing that worked, and I don't know if this is a fluke or not, but and I got the frame. So I got these frames because I did a gallery show, and like after that I'm like, well, what do I do with these frames? And I'm like, you know, they look nice in frames, so I'm just gonna present them in frames. So anyway, so it looked really good, and like I said, so I had this canvas print that I also got for the gallery show that I didn't sell at the gallery, but I sold it at the convention. So like I said, and it was a pretty hefty price tag, you know, and but somebody purchased it, and that was a big chunk of change. And so, but I don't know if I should invest in doing more of those, or if that was just a one-off thing. It just happened to happen, but it's cool that it did. So that worked. And there's a lot of things that did work, but let's also talk about some of the things that didn't. And this is sort of a little upsetting, but my exclusive print that I did for Phoenix Comicon, I really didn't sell a lot of them. I sold enough to make all my printing costs back and more, because there's a pretty decent markup between what I get the things printed for and what I sell them for. But that doesn't take into consideration all the time that I spent on it. But the good thing about that, even though that's exclusive, the core of that illustration, which hopefully I'll drop it in so you guys can see what it looks like. And it was also in the program. It was right in the second page. You flip open like 3 pages, and it's right there, front and center. So I thought, oh, this is cool. This has got to get people to my booth. But it didn't work. I was really surprised at that. But anyway, so what I was saying before is to get sort of my time back on that, what I'll do is I'll pull all the Phoenix branding off of it and everything, and take off the Discover Your Inner Geek slogan and put another similar type slogan, and maybe do a color variant, and then I'll be able to sell that on my website. Hopefully, you know, I'll be able to make some of my time back. But I can still take these to other Phoenix Comicons in the future, so I'm not too worried about that, because a lot of other things worked. Going back to one thing that really worked that I forgot to tell you about were my lab products, my little science experiments. Those, especially on Saturday, those went like crazy. But then on Sunday, they didn't sell that much. So everything, it's weird. I just don't have one thing that just sells all the time. It's very hard to pinpoint what works and what doesn't, because I've had prints that I've made that I hardly sold any, and I was selling like crazy that day. So it's really weird. But anyway, so the exclusive print didn't really work. Other things that didn't work so great were like the comics, postcards, stickers. I sold a little bit of them, but what's weird is those were the small items. The larger items sold better, so that was kind of odd, I thought. Now, the thing is, if I only had comic books, you know, if I was only presenting comic books on my table, I would sell comics. But when you're like me and you sell a lot of different things, it's hard for people to focus on one thing. So I don't want to give the impression that comic books don't sell, because I know people that just sell comics and they can do all right at a convention. But if you got all this other stuff, it doesn't work. So the little things didn't work. The other thing that, I don't want to say it didn't work, but one issue that I had was my whole backdrop on Friday had just fell down. So I was trying to hang, I had my messenger bags and I wanted to build a coat rack, but I was so behind with everything, getting things out, that I didn't have time to make the coat rack. So I was hanging them off my lighting stand that everything is hooked up to, and I must have turned one of the little notches or something, and the whole thing just went crumbling down, and it was kind of a disaster. But the frames, they held up. I raised it back up, and then after that there was some damage because everything was held together with these hooks, and the hooks had bent and it fell down again. But after that I zip tied it, so it set me back a little bit. It wasn't crazy busy at that time, and I had this whole setup in my house set up for like a week in advance, and it stayed up fine. And then after I did the zip tie and everything, it stayed up for the rest of the convention. But these things kind of happen. But when it happened, everyone was like, "Oh my God, oh no! What can I help? Can I help? What can I do?" But it wasn't as big of a setback as I thought it would be, and nothing was broken or anything like that. So all in all, yeah, those are the things that kind of didn't work. But I just, you know, all in all, I just had this really great convention. I met a lot of really cool people. A lot of people approached me to do like commissions, which I really don't do anymore. And then people would approach me to do freelance, which I don't really do either. But I got approached to do a few really cool freelance projects, like bucket list things for clients that I'd be crazy to turn down. I don't know if anything will come of them, because sometimes people come to you and they say that. And the other thing is they're looking at the stuff that I like to do, like the mechs. Everyone, I mean, the mech, and in the future I'm going to do more of my mechs, because those really do good. My Mech Daddy, my Sriracha mech, my Phoenix mech, those sell pretty well. So I'm going to do some more mech stuff in the future. But these companies, I won't mention them now or what kind of they do, but they want me to kind of do my own thing. So if that happens, great. If not, I won't be too upset, because I'm trying to move away from doing client work, because I'd rather kind of work on my own stuff. But if it's stuff that I like to do my own, and if it's really what could be a really cool job, then maybe that'll happen. If it does, I will let you know. But yeah, so just tons of cool people, and just again, a lot of the people that love my stuff are like science teachers or people in the aerospace industry, which there seem to be a lot of in Phoenix. And those people just get it, and they light up, and you can see it as soon as they start looking at everything and start laughing at the different prints and things I have. And then they say, and I do the spiel, and I say it's mad science, and they say, "Oh, I'm a science teacher." And there's so many of those people, or rocket scientists. And I have had more than a handful of rocket scientists buy my Rocket Surgery Institute print, and that's super cool. So, but yeah, the people that are in that industry, they tend to love the stuff. I met a guy who does consulting for like movies, as far as the science behind them and everything. I was talking to him; he was really cool. So just a lot of cool people, and I had an awesome show. Everything from the people to, you know, obviously I did really well at the show. I'm looking forward to the future. And the funny thing is, I got noticed a lot for being on YouTube, which that hasn't really happened in previous shows. So now that I guess my channel is trending up. I mean, I don't have a ton of subscribers compared to a lot of these big YouTubers, but I do get a lot of views, and not everyone subscribes, but those videos out there, especially comic book people, they do see my videos. So even if they've only caught one, a lot of times they'll recognize the green lab coat, and they say, "Oh, I watch your YouTube videos. I've seen you on YouTube," or "Aren't you on YouTube?" And so that was kind of cool to be noticed for that. But so yeah, all in all, a great show. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to hopefully continuing what I'm doing now that I'm kind of finding things that are working, and just kind of implementing them. And I'll continue to let you know how things go. But yeah, I had just like, this was a great show for me. And again, I kind of take that with a grain of salt. I know a lot of people didn't have that great a show, and I sympathize with them. But I can only speak from my experience, and my experience was that, yes, Phoenix Comic Fest for 2018 for me was a success. All right, so there you go. That is the wrap up for Phoenix Comic Fest 2018, and again, next year it's going to be called Phoenix Fan Fusion. They're going to change the name again. At first I wasn't crazy about that because they took the comics out of it, but you know, to be honest, conventions like this really haven't been about comics specifically in a while, and I think the general reaction to the name change was like, when they announced it on the intercom, let's just say it was there was a lot of booing. But I think people are going to get used to it. At first, when I heard it, I was like, but then there's some alliteration there. Phoenix Fan Fusion, you know, it's got that F sounds and stuff, and I think it may work. I think we're just going to need to get used to it. But anyway, so because we're talking about next year, here's the question: am I going to come back? Am I going to do it again? Well, if you listen to the review, obviously you know that I did well. So, and I think this was just a down year, and I'm hoping it's going to trend up. I know there's a lot of issues, and a lot of people that have exhibited have these issues with the con. It sounds like, I'm hoping that they're trying to address all this stuff. I don't know if he's the CEO or the president or what the actual title is, but the person in charge of Phoenix Comic Fest actually did an announcement to all the vendors and everything before the show started, and kind of addressed a lot of these problems. So it sounds like they're aware of them, and they're really working. And in the past, they have always worked to fix whatever issues that happen, and a lot of these issues, unfortunately, were out of their control. So hopefully, you know, they're genuine and they are going to try to fix these issues, and I hope that they can. I believe that they can, and it sounds like hopefully they're listening. So, but regardless, like I said, I did a good show, and they were so kind enough to invite me as a guest. And like I said, even if I wasn't a guest, I would have still done well enough to want to do it again. And I do think that this was sort of a dip because of all the things that happened. Hopefully, I think it's going to start to trend back upwards, unless this is just the beginning, unless this is just across the board, which I haven't heard that from other conventions as far as that bubble bursting, because, you know, I don't know how much longer this can go, because there's more and more cons and everything, and pretty soon I'm worried that people are going to get con fatigue. But, you know, whatever the case is, I did well enough that I plan on being back. So yeah, I'm going to be back next year, and I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, and I'm going to continue to build on what I'm doing. I'm taking what I'm working with, what is working, and I'm going to do more of that, and hopefully introduce some new things that I hope will also work. But I think I finally, after all these years doing this, I'm kind of finally finding the groove, and I've always done okay. I mean, I've never been the kind of person where, like, oh, I just need to make table. If I make table, that's good. I've always really tried to make a profit, and but you know, if you want to do this as a business, if you want to keep doing it, you want to make more than just a little over your table. You want to keep doing better every year, and I think I'm starting to kind of find the groove and finding what works for me specifically, because I have to do things a little differently, because I'm not selling fan art like a lot of people. It's not like I'm not selling pop vinyls and you know, and mystery boxes and things. Well, I do have mystery tubes, but that's a very small thing of what I do. But anyway, yeah, a lot. You know, I've got to find my audience within this group, and it's very niche, and a lot of the people that go to these comic conventions aren't interested in what I'm doing because they don't recognize it from what they see on TV or movies or whatever. But I'm starting to find a way to bring some of those people in, or introduce them to what I'm doing, and then the crowd of people, that niche crowd of people that do dig what I'm doing, they seem to be building, and it's helping. So anyway, so it looks like the future is bright as far as conventions for me. So yeah, that's the wrap up, and I plan on being back. But anyway, thanks for tuning in and everything, and I will see you guys later. That is all. Hey everyone, thanks for joining me here in the Art Lab. There's a lot of other great content on the channel, so click that subscribe button and you won't miss a thing. If you're an aspiring evil genius, visit Serkworks.com for all your mad science supply needs. And if you want to contact me, hit me up in the comments section or follow me on social media. I'm looking forward to it. I'll see you then.